Off. Okay. So are you considering improving your home, and do you feel like you need more space, or perhaps it's actually that you need a little bit less stuff? And is your home sort of feeling difficult to manage? And does it sometimes feel a bit embarrassing when friends pop over? So I believe that you deserve a home that supports you in living your version of your best life. And I think that the very best first step to creating that home is to declutter. And that is why I've invited Janine McDonald here with me today to discuss decluttering and also the eco side of decluttering. And Janine has a really inspirational personal story, and I would love it, Janine, if you would introduce yourself and tell us a bit about your story and how you got started with decluttering and how that, what that meant to you.
Yes, certainly. Thank you very much. And thank you for inviting me today. And I've had a few technical issues before, but we are still here. So thank you very much. In a previous life, I was very much corporate, and I spent virtually 25 years working in financial services. And my mental well-being started to decline. And I was made redundant in 2014. And I was actually long-term sick, so I wasn't actually able to get a job. During that time, when I was struggling with my mental well-being, there was things starting to build up. And when I say build up, it might have only been 5 or 10 things in the corner of the room, but I can remember thinking to myself, I was sat on the sofa, and I can remember thinking to myself, this side was going, it's only going to take a few minutes to sort that out, so just sort it out, just do it. But this half of my brain was going, not letting you go anywhere. I'm not going to let you move. And unfortunately, that side of the brain was more dominant. And it was that constant fighting from one side to the other. And it got to the stage where when people came round, I'd do a quick sweep of the rooms they were going in. So it was like all the paperwork and everything was stuffed into one of the massive, the really big shopping bags that you get. And it would go in the spare room. I'd go, well, I'll sort that out when they've gone. But then before you know it, there's like 6 or 7 of these bags, and I've not sorted any of them.
Paperwork
and it got
is
to
the
the
worst.
stage. Yeah, it got to the stage where the spare room was literally a dumping ground. There was a desk in there. You couldn't work from it because you couldn't get to it. And I managed to get help to build my confidence again. And slowly I just said to myself, just 3 things. That's all I'm going to do, just 3 things. And I felt that was achievable. So every time I went into a room, I would put just 3 things away. And I got to the point where I could see it making a difference. And from there, I'd find myself, say I was on the way to my bedroom, I'd go into the spare bedroom first and put 3 things away, and then into my bedroom and put 3 things away. And slowly I got more organised and a lot less cluttered. And I was on employment and support allowance, but then I got to the stage where I felt strong enough and ready enough to get a job, and I couldn't get one because my life had changed. I was now a single parent, so I was needing school hours, but I was also needing term time employment as well.
Yeah,
and the feedback I was getting was that they thought I would want to progress, and I couldn't get across to them that my life had totally changed and I didn't want to go back to that level. So the job centre was saying, well, you need to keep looking for a job, or you can look at setting up a business, because I'd already chatted about a couple of ideas with them. So I attended a business course, and within 3 days of attending, I'd got the name for my business, Clear the Clutter Now, and I'd created a very basic website. I was on social media, and it was amazing. And it was set up officially in March, well, the end of February 2020.
Oh, great year for
it. Brilliant timing. But I found that I spent a lot of that time networking and building up relationships. But then I thought, well, hang on a minute. Someone reached out to me and said, I really, really need help. And I actually did it as like a free case to support them. And we did it online. And the feedback I got was wonderful, because you could flip your camera around. I can see virtually what you can see. You know, say for you, it would be, right, okay, so you've got those books on that bookshelf there. Let's talk about those. And I got a son involved as well. But we found out that the clutter generally comes from a form of trauma, and it's finding out what that trauma is. And the lady said to me afterwards, she said, I am so glad that it was on video, because she says, I suffer from severe anxiety of people touching my possessions. And that was just great. And I thought, yeah, this can be done this way. So yes, so I did online decluttering through lockdown, and I did some guest speaker slots. And now, yes, I can go back into people's homes, and I love it. Absolutely love it.
So what would you say, I'm interested to know from your personal point of view, in terms of, so you talked about putting 3 things away. And so I mean, in my experience of clutter, because I've been dealing with my own clutter issues, but a lot of clutter to me, yes, there is sort of levels of trauma, but also a lot of it is like kind of decisions that have just been put off till later. because you can't maybe deal with them at that moment.
Yeah.
And because, you know, making decisions is quite, I am personally I don't enjoy making decisions like when you go to a bar and you have to choose which drink to have, or a restaurant. You know, I love those sort of restaurants where they have like a menu. That's it. You get the menu or you don't. That's the meal, and you don't actually need to make the decisions. I think Steve Jobs is an interesting guy as well, in terms of his like black t-shirt every day. You don't need to make a decision, but a lot of decluttering is that sort of putting off decisions. And what you were describing there about putting 3 things away is about just making those little decisions, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's making those small decisions building up to the bigger decisions. And it's a lot harder to make those decisions by yourself. Because what I would do is I'd be chatting to you, I'd be finding out about your backstory as to how you've got to where you are today, and where you want to go in the future as well, how you envisage your home to be. And by asking you these questions about particular items, say if it's a bit more of a sentimental item, I will ask you quite a few questions, not like, right, okay, have you got this, have you got that, have you got the other? But it's more in conversation, and you don't have to reply to me. As long as you think about it in your mind, you will then come to the decision. And sometimes clients will look at me and they'll go sort of like, and I go, it's okay, you've got this, you can do it. And they then become more confident in making those decisions. And I will get little messages through from people saying, you'll be really proud of me, I've done this and this. And it's like, yay. But it's hard. I struggle now to make decisions on things that need to be decluttered. And it's not a case of, right, I'm going to declutter the house, because that's too overwhelming. Start small. And one approach doesn't fit all. So with the decisions that are being procrastinated, really, you're delaying them because you're not ready emotionally to deal with those decisions that generally comes from the trauma that's brought around the clutter in the first place, or excess belongings.
What happens then once somebody has decluttered their space and their, you know, that what sort of transformations can people expect to have? How life-changing can that be? What examples could you give us from either your own experience or those of your clients?
Yeah, I've had a client's friend. I had an article in a local newspaper, and I just went for a family walk one day, and I actually bumped into this. She was a potential client then, she'd not actually phoned me, but she was with her friend who I sort of knew. And we were just having a chat, and she opened up a little bit and was saying, oh, you were in the newspaper. I've cut it out. I wanted to ring you. So I just had a quick chat with her and said, give me a ring and we'll have a chat. So she's like, right, I will do. Anyway, we finished the walk and I saw the friend again without the lady, and she got quite emotional. I was like, are you okay? And she said, yeah. She said, this lady has never invited anybody into her home. She said, and the fact that she's admitted it is just incredible. She said, and I'm so happy that she actually just opened up to you there and then. And after a few sessions with the lady, the friend messaged me and just said, hi, Janine, I've been meaning to message you to say thank you for changing my friend's life. And I still go goosey every time I say it. And I was so overwhelmed by that. But I see when I go in and see clients and work with them, is that you get a bit of closed body language, looking down, sometimes embarrassment, sometimes frustration. And during the session, you can see them like opening up and blossoming, smiling, the sparkles come back to their eyes, open body language, and really getting on with it and chatting and laughing about things. And yeah, it's wonderful to see. And like I say, the feedback that I've had is that it is life-changing, because you get more time to do the things that you want to do. And you can, well, now you can now invite people round.
Yeah, exactly. That to me, I mean, that is actually what drives me in my work as well. So I think we share that a lot, that in some ways it's about creating that space, the space. So you can do it by removing stuff that you've got in your home, so that your home actually then has the space for you to be able to use it. Or in the way that I help my clients is by actually extending their homes or reconfiguring the homes, finding sort of kind of dead, unused or wasted sort of space that's there, but we can incorporate it in a different way so that their space physically gets a bit bigger in terms of where they want to use it. And so actually what we're doing is we're creating the same outcome, but from two different aspects.
And if you have a declutter before, say, having a chat with you, then you know what space is available, but then the family or the couple or whoever knows exactly what they want, rather than having all the stuff around and going, right, well, we need to navigate through here and we need to get through there and the playroom's not big enough, you know.
Absolutely.
But if you declutter, then it's actually a case of, oh, wow, okay. And when people say to me, I just need more storage, I'm like, no, you don't. Wait until the end to get your storage. And in fact, in this case, if we were, say, working on the same project together, it would be actually, don't buy your storage until you've reconfigured or extended, and then you can get the storage that works for you, for that family, for that home, and for it to work in a more fluid way.
Yeah, absolutely. I was interested to know if what you see as the point at which, you know, you've decluttered enough and then it's time to start to organize the things that you've got. That would be where you start to, you know, decide, okay, well, where do we store it and how do we store it? So where is that sort of tipping point once you've actually, you know, okay, we've got to the point where that we can't get rid, or is there ever a point that you finished decluttering?
Point, really, because there's always things coming into the house, whether it be Christmas presents, birthday presents, extra toys, there's always things coming in. What I say to my children especially is that if they want something in particular, then I say, right, okay, so you're getting this new, so let's pass on something else that you already have that you don't play with now. Let's pass that on for somebody else to enjoy. And then it's not building up, it's actually staying at a level that's manageable. So with regards to a tipping point, yeah, it's a bit hard to say where a tipping point would be. But if you've got to the position where, you know, you've decluttered your whole wardrobe, for instance, that automatically is giving you more storage space. So then, you know, if you went through your books, for instance, and decided, right, okay, am I going to read these again? Are they really tatty? What can I do with them? Then you know, right, okay, so that bit's done. So I'd say really clothes, books and toys are the main things to declutter before you look at the next stage.
What about papers? What do you about papers are my nemesis. The thing about paper, when you come to declutter paper, is you can have a huge pile of paper, and each piece of paper takes up such a small amount of space in that pile that then you're making a decision about each individual piece of paper, and that means that these piles just take so long to get through. So
if you can, it would be deal with it when it comes in. So have a filing system, whether that be a digital filing system or a physical filing system, and deal with it as soon as it comes that day, as and when possible. Think when you're looking at 3 pieces of paper, you can categorize them. So set yourself a time limit, might only be half an hour, and say, right, okay, so set your timer for 25 minutes, because your last 5 minutes, you'll then put what's left back in the pile, ready for your next half hour. So if you sort it out into categories, just like, right, yeah, I really don't need that. You know, because sometimes you'll get a letter through the post, it's left in the envelope, but then you've got all the leaflets in it as well. So you can straight away sort that out to recycling. Do I need that letter? Do I need to take action on it? If you do need to take action on it, that goes into a separate pile. If it's one that needs filing, whether scanning in and keeping on the computer or physically filing, then they can go in another pile. So then at the end of your 25 minutes, you can then go and take all your recycling and get that in the bin. You can then get your pile together that needs filing and either file it if it's physically filing, or keep it in a pile together, clipped together with, you know, a bulldog clip or something, or in a folder that you know that's for scanning. And then you've got another section that's take action. So then if you can, later on, take some action on those pieces.
File, which is could be scan or physical file.
Yeah. Recycle
as a get rid of.
Yeah.
Or take action, and those are your 3 categories.
Yes.
And I regularly declutter, but paper I find is one of the hardest things.
Oh, you're not on your own. So many people struggle with paper, and please don't do what I was doing and sticking it all in an Aldi carry bag because it never comes out.
That's hard. Yeah. And so when you mentioned recycling there, and I know that there are so many people who are following, Marie Kondo, the minimalists, and all, these sort of big sort of decluttering experts, and that means that charity shops are kind of overflowing with donations. And then during lockdown, I found personally it was really difficult to get rid of things because you have, charity shop donation times, you have to actually book a time to donate things. And the thing is that eventually maybe everything is going to end up as landfill and rubbish eventually, unless you can compost it or recycle it. But it's obviously best to use or reuse the stuff for as long as possible. But I know that this is something that you're really passionate about, so I'd be really interested to hear your tips, or how you would approach, when it comes to disposing of your clutter, how we can make that as eco as possible.
Yeah. So there's lots and lots of different things. So for instance, like you say, we'll go off with clothes because we were talking about wardrobe declutter. So now you can donate to charity shops. However, they may have a sign out there saying currently full, and that's because they still have to quarantine the items for 48 hours. So they have to have a rotation system in place. But have a think, could you do a clothes swap? Could you organise a swap shop? So it could be at your home, it could be in a village hall, it could be small scale, it could be bigger scale. And that's where people would, pay a small token amount, could be for charity. And then you hang your clothes up on a rail. Everybody brings clothes, hangs them up on the rail, and then you can have a look and see if there's anything that you would like. At the end of that, if there's items left, then they could go to the charity shop or women's refuge or a homeless shelter. You could sell them on one of the social media platforms or one of the regular selling platforms. So you can do that. If clothes aren't fit for repurpose, the charity shops still accept them. However, what is very, very helpful to them is if you put them in a separate bag and mark it up with the word rags, because they will weigh them in, so they will still get money for the charity for them as well. And some people will think, well, I spent so much on this, I don't want to just give it away. So in which case you can look at selling things, but give yourself a time limit. If it's not sold by a certain amount of time, and think to yourself, what's more important, the space in my home and the space in my head, or £10 cash?
Yeah, it's that balance, isn't it? I think that sometimes it can trip you up trying to do the best thing. But obviously, in terms of eco, you've got your 3 R's, you reduce, reuse, recycle. And so, you mentioned before sort of a 1 in, 1 out thing for kids' toys as a way of sort of managing things that come in. But are there any other systems that you recommend to your clients that are sort of more on the reduce side and to help people sort of stop their space kind of becoming recluttered again?
A good way of doing it is, you'll laugh at this, with a toilet roll.
A toilet roll?
A toilet roll. Okay. The inner of the toilet roll. Okay. So this is great for kids because you can make real fun out of this. But stand in one spot, okay, and then look through the toilet roll, and okay, that gives you a direct vision of what you can see. And sometimes that shocks you more than being able to see the whole room, because you see the whole room every day. But by focusing on that one little bit, you can then start to go through and declutter. But then you'll also realize actually there is a lot of stuff around. When you're looking at buying things, don't put on the click to buy, because some providers, some online stores will have add to basket, then do this, then do that, and then you get to buy it. As some are like, oh, click now, that's it, it's done, it's bought. So try to avoid putting that access onto your systems. And just really think to yourself, do I need it? Will I use it? Why am I buying it? Especially if you go to somewhere like Home Bargains or B&M, places like that. You're going for one. In fact, they have the bag, don't they? I only came in for one thing and the bag's huge. So they know that their marketing works. So just really think to yourself, this is what I need. That's what I'm going in for. That's what I'm going to come out with.
Yeah, I think that sort of it's worth sort of thinking in terms of the space. How much space is this going to take up in my home, and what's that space mean to me in terms of what I can do. I sometimes have people asking me, well, how do I know if what I need to do is have more space? And I would say that if you haven't got this enough space in your home for the number of people that you want to have in that space, doing whatever activity you want to do. So for example, kitchen's quite a typical one.
Yeah.
If you have children and you'd love to be able to cook with your children in your kitchen, but it's too small to do that safely, this is my personal situation. My kitchen's quite a small kitchen, and I'm afraid of, my little boy is 6, so sharp knives, gas hob, there are all these dangers where, yes, it is possible to use the space and cook with him, but it's not easy to do. And that to me means, okay, at some point I will be extending my kitchen because it's just not big enough for me to use. But there are other parts of my home where, I've done a lot of decluttering over the years, and certainly some rooms that I have now, like my bedroom, works so much better because, well, particularly when I went through maternity, I just stripped the wardrobe out, only what would fit. And then afterwards, I didn't, my fingers never got back to what it was before. So
I don't think any of us do.
So that's really helped me to just go, okay, if it fits and it feels comfortable and I like how I look in it right now, I'll keep it. And if it doesn't, I've got a few favorites that possibly won't ever fit, and I gradually have been giving them to friends of mine who they do fit.
There's a huge emotional attachment to clothes, there really is. But by having clothes, and I've been through this, I had clothes from just after I had my first daughter, and I was so slim. Now it'd be like, won't get anywhere near those, but they were sat there in the wardrobe. They were going, you used to wear these, you used to wear them, you used to fit in them, but you can't now. And I'd think, I'll get in them again, and then it's just like, who am I kidding? I'm never going to. So stop torturing myself and pass them on so that somebody else can enjoy them as much as I did.
Yeah. And that's where you've got your stuff sort of like criticizing you, and that's where it sort of makes you feel worse having this stuff around you.
And I'd also say use items from around your home that you already have for storage. I still have my daughter's t-shirts folded up so they're like that in a shoebox. I still haven't progressed to an actual storage box. It's still a shoebox. It works. If you don't go out and buy storage, because then you're buying storage for the items you've already got. So just use what you have around the home to start with, and then once you start having, through your decluttering, you can then find out which types of containers, what size you need, which ones you like, whether you want it to be really pretty or just really functional. You don't need to spend a fortune on buying storage containers for things. And it's simple things like, like I said, shoe boxes for t-shirts or your tops or your scarves. The biscuit tins that you get for Christmas. Yes, I love them. I love them because you bought them and you think, oh, that's such a pretty tin. Oh, I love that. And then you're like, well, what am I going to use it for? And you don't like throwing it away. So then you keep it and it never ends up with anything in it. But it's things like I've got craft things in them and they stack really nicely. So, you can use things that you've already got. And again, another use for the inside of a loo roll when I'm going to get a reputation here, aren't I? Is to use it to hold your wrapping paper in place for when you store that, instead of it all coming undone. And use an egg box to store your smaller Christmas decorations in. You don't need to go out and buy the specialist Christmas decoration storage things because they're expensive, and you don't need to buy new. You can use what you've got.
Yeah, I think that's a really good idea, actually, using an egg. I've never thought of that. Every now and then when I throw an egg box away, I just think, I know people with chickens who they could have used that, but they're not local, and things
that's it. Yeah, and I think sometimes things like that can go to schools, but it's at the moment whether they'll accept them or not.
Yeah, that's true. So how do you spend a lot of time researching, or do you help your clients with, disposing of clutter in a more eco way?
I will share with them all the different, there's certain partners that I work alongside. One of the charities is against breast cancer. So if they're decluttering the bras, I will actually bring those away with me and put them with the 1,500 that I currently have in my garage.
So you're cluttering up your space by helping other people declutter.
The company's coming to collect them soon. And then I've linked up with Pens for Kids. So any excess stationery, I'll give the clients the details of where they can post it off to. And that's an organisation who provides the stationery to developing countries who don't have enough stationery for schools, for instance. And handbags and small bags, I'll partner with Hopeful Handbags, which is a domestic abuse organisation that's linked with Refuge. So I will bring those away because I know the local point is close to me. With regards to other items, I will make suggestions depending on where they live, because if it's online, obviously it could be anywhere, but if it's local, I can give more specific names of organisations. But things like furniture, I'll give suggestions into using them in a different way. If they were just thinking, actually, I want to get rid of that, I go, well, hang on, let's think about it. Could you use it in your garage for your tools or something like that, or the shed? Right, no, well, it's a bit broken. Okay, so can you fix it? No, I don't want to fix it. Okay, that's fine. Right, there's the British Heart Foundation, there's a local charity to where I am, and that's a specific furniture upcycling charity. So they will come and collect the furniture. People who've gone through the rehabilitation programme are then given skills to fix and upcycle furniture to sell in the charity shop for the money to go back into the programme. So there's lots of different things, and a lady had quite a lot of vintage items. So we were contacting the archives department of like the RAC, the youth hostels, and going to a local, like a vintage, I want to say warehouse, but it's in an old warehouse where there's about 60 different stalls all selling different vintage things, that we got a connection there. So they came round to have a look, and she's made an agreement with them to sell quite a few of the items, and they've taken them away. So I will talk to you about the different things that could be made. It's like odd socks, isn't it? You know, you have a bag of odd socks. So what can you do with those? Well, actually, if you wanted to, you could make a demister for the car. Okay, it might only use one. You can, the kids can make sock puppets out of them.
There's somebody
you can
here
use them as stuffing, so it may be, as long as they're washed, put it on a craft group.
Yeah, there's somebody here in Chorlton who does sock puppets, some kind of sock monkeys, I think they're called.
Yeah, so then it's that cycle of reusing things without them just going straight to landfill. They're getting another life out of it first. And I've got a really big plant in my lounge, and I love it. Came from the lady down the road, and it was so big and heavy that I had to get like a little wheelie thing, and I'm there walking up the middle of the road doing a live like you do. Say, look what I've got. But I've always wanted a big plant, and the enjoyment that brings to me, they didn't want that. They could have just put it in the garden waste bin, but that's brought me so much happiness.
Yeah, that does help you with letting go of things where you've got an emotional attachment, but knowing that somebody else could really enjoy it, even though you don't want it anymore, but you're struggling to let go of it, it can be enough to tip you. So I noticed that you have a 3-day challenge starting. Is that starting today? Is that
starting today? Yes,
is that
that's
something
right.
People can still get involved with?
They can, certainly. The group is open until the 15th, but it's just a 3-day challenge. So today's challenge, every challenge will take less than half an hour, because it's that not overwhelm, it's the just like, oh yeah, let's go and do that. So today's challenge, for instance, is sort your carrier bags out. All your bags for life, all over the house, in the car, in the shed, wherever they are, get them all together count them up. I did a video on how to fold a carry bag, quite bizarrely, but they do go very, very small. And then what else you can do with them. So yeah, so that's today's challenge, and then tomorrow's challenge is announced tomorrow morning at 6 o'clock.
So how can people get involved and sort of learn more about all the different things that they can do with their carry bags and clear out the space, and then go on to do the next challenge?
I know it's like very random.
But
it's things you don't think about, but then you end up with this massive bag of carry bags.
Yes.
So yeah, if they wanted to join my group, which is Clear the Clutter Now group, they can then, there's a link in there that says Clear the Clutter Now group 3-day declutter and home organisation challenge. And if they'd like to join, then obviously more than welcome. And there's support in there, and any questions they can put in there as well. And I go live at 7 o'clock each night to actually answer those questions.
Brilliant. And then just to finish off, I'd love to know from you what, how can people work with you, and what's the best way to get in touch with you?
I've got a website, so thank you very much for that. I've got a website which is cleartheclutternow.co.uk, and you can contact me on the form through there. My contact number's on there as well, and it's also on the Facebook page. If you wanted to contact me through direct message, that's fine. You can also link to me there through WhatsApp as well. And I can do online, so like we are now, just do it that way. Or if you're local in the Greater Manchester area, then I can actually come into your home and help and support you there. If you are further away, I can come, but obviously it's additional expenses to get to you.
Lovely. Thank you so much, Janine. It's been such a pleasure to talk with you, and yeah, really, really interesting to hear, how decluttering can mentally improve your life, and
tremendously,
and how you can do that in a more sustainable, eco-friendly way as well.
Yeah.
So
and if you look out, I'm, fingers crossed, going to be in one of the weekly magazines in the run up to Christmas.
Great.
And that's about using your Christmas decorations in a different way.
Brilliant. That sounds great. Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Oh, it's been lovely chatting to you. Thank you so much, Jane. It's been an absolute delight.
Thank you.